Hi to all. This is Sister Nasia from the Department of English. We shall discuss the short story Bliss by Catherine Mansfield. The outcomes of the short story Bliss are students will be able to shed light on the female predicament in the late Victorian era and to promote a clear understanding of the true meaning of happiness in human life. Investigate the nature of the heroine's moral, personal, and social crisis and her progression to a state of maturity. And the last one is they'll be able to create an ambience to be happy and joyful in personal life, family, and society. Catherine Mansfield is one of the outstanding 20th century short story writers and a poetess whose poems reveal her overwhelming interest in using nature imagery to enhance her social and moral ideas in her work. Catherine Mansfield was born and brought up in New Zealand. She left for Great Britain in 1908, where she encountered modernist writers such as D.H. Lawrence and Virginia Woolf, and eventually they became close friends. Her stories often focus on moments of crisis which cover a short period of time, approximately a day, in which the central character passes from a stage of innocence to personal and social awareness. As a modern writer, Catherine Mansfield adopts different means such as magic realism, symbolism, psychoanalysis, Marxism, and feminist theories in delineating her female protagonist's predicament and her ultimate transformation. She also employs poetic and dramatic techniques for the same purpose in the story. The female predicament in the late Victorian era and to promote a remarkable insight to the true meaning of happiness in human life. The nature of the heroine's moral, personal, and social crisis and her progression to a state of maturity. Let us look at the analysis of the story, Bliss. Bertha wishes to express her internal state, which is one of absolute bliss, through her actions and behavior. She feels a sense of delight that she associates with childhood and wishes that she had the freedom of a child to run instead of walk, or laugh at nothing if she feels like it. As Bertha is a grown woman, she does not know how to express this feeling in a way deemed appropriate for an adult. The image of the sun shining inside Bertha also alludes to internal states being hidden behind external facades. Bertha is frustrated because she feels that there is no way she can express the joy she is feeling without society condemning her behavior. As an upper middle class woman in Britain in the early 1900s, Bertha's life is defined by the rules of propriety. Expressions of emotion were seen as improper according to social conventions in this period, which also viewed women as weak and delicate. This is implied when Bertha describes her body as a rare fiddle locked in a case. This suggests the belief that women were fragile and needed protection. The tight clasp of Bertha's coat also suggests the restrictions placed on Bertha, both literally, as in the tight, restrictive clothing that was fashionable for women in the early 1900s, and metaphorically, in the desire to express her joy and behave in ways which society would deem improper for a woman. The fact that she finds the clasp hard to bear suggests that Bertha longs to throw off restrictive social conventions. There is a sense of anticipation throughout Bliss, which builds until the story's climax and suggests that some change is about to take place in Bertha's life. It was conventional in this period in Britain for upper and middle class women to employ nannies to take on the responsibilities of childcare. Although Bertha conforms to this convention, she clearly wishes that she could take a more active role in caring for her daughter. In spite of Bertha is hugely privileged in some ways and is nurse's employer. Bertha is not brave enough to question social convention and does not feel that she has any authority over her little bee is raised. She feels jealous of nurse even though she is a servant because she is lucky to spend so much time with little bee. Although Bertha is happy with her life, the bliss she feels is compared with a fire, which advocates that it can be destructive if it is not contained. She is waiting for something divine to happen, which proposes a lack of fulfillment in her life as she excited by the prospect of change or progression. Bertha's preoccupation with the aesthetics and with coordinating the decor of the room intends that she is interested in artistic movements popular in the early 20th century. The image of the fruit matching the carpet is reminiscent of the work of the French Impressionist painters who were interested in painting scenes of everyday life and arranging compositions around shape and color. There is evidence that Bertha's bliss borders on something hysterical. This offers that Bertha's joy is mixed with desperation and that she is not as happy with her circumstances as she tries to convince herself. Although Little B is Bertha's child, Bertha is treated like an intruder when she tries to involve herself in daughter's life. Nurse is placed when she takes the baby back because she feels that social order has been restored and that she can resume her job caring for little B while Bertha resumes her job managing the house. Bertha's phone call with Harry demonstrates that social conventions affect Bertha's relationship with her husband. She feels that she cannot openly share her bliss with him because he would view it as absurd or improper. However, Bertha believes that it is society with its rules and restrictions which is idiotic, not her own emotions. The Youngs are clearly a fashionable couple who socialize in artistic and cultural circles. Mansfield herself, during her time in London, socialized in literary and bohemian circles and drew upon this experience writing Bliss. The observation that Bertha often falls in love with beautiful women indicates that Bertha is romantically and sexually attracted to women, although she does not know or admit this to herself. Bertha projects her own feelings of love and bliss onto Pearl and constructs the idea that Pearl is restrained by social convention just as Bertha is, but has hidden aspects to her personality which Bertha wishes to uncover. This reveals that Bertha is fascinated by Pearl and wishes to make a genuine emotional connection with her. It also presents a hidden side to Bertha's personality, her unexplored homosexual attraction to Pearl. Harry's jokes about Pearl undermine Bertha's idealized image of the woman, while Bertha believes that Pearl is a mysterious individual with hidden depths. Harry satirizes this idea by suggesting that nothing lies behind Pearl's manner except her physical body. This demonstrates that Harry is an irreverent person who undermines social conventions of etiquette. The fact that Bertha likes this quality in her husband proves her desire to break with the rules of propriety. The pearl tree is a symbol of forbidden desire throughout the story. Even if Bertha understood her attraction to Pearl, or if her attraction was reciprocated by Pearl, it is likely that social convention would make it impossible for the woman to openly have a relationship. Homosexuality was illegal in Britain until the 1960s and was viewed as sexually deviant for longer still. The image of the two cats symbolize the fact that Bertha's desires will not be fulfilled and that her sense of bliss will be unreciprocated. The fact that the cats make Bertha shiver comments that she is aware of this in some level. Bertha's state here verges on manic of hysterical. Again, and there is a sense that her happiness is in fact a type of desperation to escape her circumstances. Bertha feels that the pearl tree represents her own life because, due to her position of privilege, because of her class and financial status, she is free to spend her time however she wants. Bertha thinks about all the things in her life that she should make her happy. Were she truly content? However, she likely would not have to remind herself for all the reasons that she should be. The fact that running through this list exhausts her also proposes that it is an effort for her to be happy and that her situation does not really bring her joy. Her outfit matches the pear tree and the garden because these things are symbol of her internal desires. Bertha is interested in expressing these internal desires externally. Mrs. Knight is antagonistic towards civilized society and social conventions among the British middle class. She rebels against them by dressing in a way that shocks people. This indicates that, like Bertha, Mrs. Knight wants her external appearance to match her feeling and beliefs. Under the spell of her bliss, Bertha feels that the whole evening is enchanted, and as part of this enchantment, she feels that Mrs. Knight really looks like she has been turned into a monkey in her yellow dress. The theme of transformation is continued with the arrival of Eddie Warren. He complains that the taxi driver has been transformed into a bizarre figure and that his socks have been made whiter by the moon. Moonlight is a symbolic of this transformation and enchantment, which seems to have fallen across the party as a result of Bertha's bliss, which transforms the world and everything in it for her. This implies that Harry is a person who worries about how he presents himself to the world. Bertha admires his contradictory nature because she wishes to rebel against social conventions, and Harry symbolizes this rebellion for her. Bertha's comment about Pearl foreshadows that Bertha knows Pearl well or likes to think that she does. It offers that Bertha feels that she and Pearl have an understanding and that she has insight into Pearl's lifestyle that the others do not. Pearl's silver outfit associates her with the moonlight, which has transformed the night outside just as Bertha's love for Pearl has transformed the world for Bertha. The reader understands that Bertha's feelings of bliss is caused by Bertha's attraction to Pearl because it intensifies when Bertha takes Pearl's arm. Mrs. Knight's description of the fire recommends that the fire too has changed into something else. However, this is only a metaphor. This hints that although things seem to be undergoing a transformation, nothing has really changed and the enchantment is illusory. Bertha believes that she can correctly interpret Pearl's actions and takes Pearl's question about the garden as a sign that Pearl wishes to be alone with Bertha. Rather than openly communicating her desire, Bertha shows Pearl the symbols of her desire, the moon and the pear tree. Bertha sees the tree like a flaming candle because she believes that Pearl understands her and will know how to interpret the symbols. Mrs. Knight self-consciously satirizes aspects of British society, such as his relationship with his daughter. This reveals that the knights like to present themselves as cynical, unconventional people. However, the knights give little evidence that they are actually interested in disrupting societal norms, even if they view them as shallow and unnecessary. Harry's complaint about the idealization of life in fiction indicates that he is an honest person who wishes that other people would be honest too. However, this is undercut by the story's ending, in which it is revealed that Harry is unfaithful to Bertha and that his frankness is a performance. Bertha is confident that she can interpret Harry and Pearl's feelings correctly by reading their external appearances. Bertha's assumption does not account for the fact that Harry and Pearl may be performing for the sake of propriety or in order to hide their true nature or motives. Bertha feels physically invigorated by Pearl's presence and physical proximity. This traces that her sexual attraction to Pearl is so strong that it even transforms her relationship with Harry temporarily. Bertha is so overwhelmed with emotion that she feels that something drastic will happen in the aftermath of her revelation about Pearl and Harry. She feels that some change must now occur because she has been in such a state of anticipation all evening. However, the pear tree is lovely and still under the moon. This implies that the transforming power of Bertha's bliss was just an illusion, as was her belief in she and Pearl's connection symbolized by the pear tree. The tree remains untouched, symbolizing the fact that Bertha's hopes have come to nothing and that her sexual attraction towards Pearl remains unfulfilled. Bertha again demonstrates that she believes she can correctly interpret other people's intentions by watching their behavior. Although Eddie Warren is thought of as a great writer in fashionable circles, his claim that why must it always be tomato soup is incredibly beautiful, is ironic, and opines that Eddie has been transformed into a great writer by all the attention that he receives rather than by his own talent. Let us look at some of the major characters. That is, Bertha Young, a 30-year-old housewife, believes she is very lucky, good husband, adorable baby, modern, thrilling friends, materially well off, has slightly neurotic joy at everything. Coming to Harry Young, Harry is inclined to be aggressive and predatory, not someone the reader easily warms to. He speaks of his shameless passions for the white flesh of the lobster, as if taking delight in the suffering of his food. Pearl is the friend that Bertha believes can share her overflowing happiness. Bertha looks up to Pearl, who is the only one of the dinner party guests who has any maturity. She has little to do with Bertha at all, described as Bertha's latest find rather than a friend. Nanny plays the maternal, nurturing, down to earth role for Bertha's baby, in contrast to Bertha herself, who does not dare to question Nanny's authority. And the little Bertha's baby, is not yet her own person, instead serving as a reflection of her mother Bertha. Bertha is not close to little B, nor is she close to herself. Coming to conclusion, Mansfield's short story Bliss displays her at her best in using different techniques, starting from magic realism to symbolism, nature imagery, internal monologue, psychoanalysis, feminism, and even Marxism in portraying her female protagonist's predicaments. Her aim in doing so is to depict her heroine both from inside as an individual blinded by illusions and from outside as a victim of conforming to an authoritarian male constructed social discourse which reduces her life to mere nothingness and role play. The essence of Mansfield's narrative strategy of explicitly blinding Bertha's inner life with her outer existence is to reveal the underlying contradiction in her characters as well as the fragility of the assumption of her being in a state of bliss with her husband on the day she is going to have a party. The depiction of Bertha Young stripped of all illusion at the end of the story foreshadows Mansfield's belief in the non existence of complete happiness in adult reality of pain and responsibilities. However, the technique also assists in endorsing a clear perception of the very cause and the nature of the sufferings of women who are doomed as her heroine to a lifetime imprisonment in a state of childlike naivety and caring for appearances instead of developing into independent and conscious adults. Ultimately, Mansfield plans for her story Bliss to have no end. Probably she intends to do no more than bringing into focus the nature of female struggle in the late Victorian era. Hence, she reveals the process of their dehumanization in the system of conformity to male authority, but purely from the viewpoints of a woman writer rather than from male author perspectives. She declares in her story that the trouble with our young writing men is that they are still too romantic. You can't put out to sea without being seasick and wanting a basin. She hopes that the solution or the conclusion for female predicaments to be delivered by her predecessor Virginia Woolf, the pioneer of feminist movement in the 20th century. Thank you.